my children! Did you really think we would go this month without returning to Encanto, the living mummy? Oh, my children, sometimes we save the best for last. When we last left Encanto, he was still in pursuit of Asp and Old Dan, thieves who had taken the ruby scarab from an Egyptian pyramid. Empowered and controlled by elemental beings, the living mummy is forced to keep moving. Saving an Israeli soldier from Egyptian tanks, and archaeologist Dr. Scarab continues on his way to Cairo in their own Chase of the Mummy. Chase of the Mummy is honestly a better title for this entire storyline, since it refers to pretty much everything going on in its ongoing plot. Asp and Old Dan reiterate their plan for the Scarlet Scarab, to sell it to Dr. Scarab, steal it back, and then sell it a half-dozen times to make their big score. They have heard of sightings of the living mummy all over Cairo, but Asp is confident. It's a city with 3.5 million people. How could it possibly find them? So anyway, the mummy immediately finds them and attacks. As the narration points out, the mummy needs no sleep, no food, and could spend every single hour of the day and night searching for the thing that will bring its salvation. Still, Old Dan tosses an oil lamp at the living mummy, but now the burning mummy. Encanto screams in a language not heard for 3,000 years. Although screaming is really a universal language. Asp is now convinced that indeed this is an actual mummy, especially since, after it flees the building and collapses in wet mud outside of their flat, it is very evident that the mummy is not dead. It is here where we get an oddity, my children. Oftentimes we encounter prose stories in older comics, owing to their need to include such things to still be allowed on newsstands and qualify as a magazine, but usually they are an independent story. Not so here. Over 2 pages we learn the backstories of Asp and Old Dan. Asp in particular, as he falls in with gangs and criminals, always taking the fall for them and doing prison time. These would be his families, though they did not reciprocate the same loyalty and love he did. During one prison visit in Europe, he met Old Dan, an old-school gentleman thief who had hit on hard times. Old Dan became Asp's family, and the Asp's aspirations for riches and a comfortable life were not just for himself, but his dear friend. Still, their big score is about to get farther away as the elemental Zephyr arrives in Cairo. Her backstory included her ascension from poverty, so when several beggars plead for help from her, she gives them an illusion of wealth and comfort to try to lift their spirits for a time while she finds Encanto, making sure to toss aside a pimp who assumes her to be a prostitute. Once she locates the injured Encanto, he reiterates that he will not serve her, but Zephyr still uses her power to heal him to resume the quest. Meanwhile, Asp and Old Dan make the sale to Dr. Scarab, the 2 groups comparing notes about the living mummy and the good doctor explaining how they seem to share a link because it was his ancestor that condemned Encanto to his living death. Still, that's no concern for our thieves, who return to their apartment to try to retrieve Old Dan's painting supplies, only to discover Zephyr and the mummy waiting. When the mummy threatens Old Dan, Asp swears he will do as she commands, the thief and the monster going off to retrieve the Scarlet Jewel. Upon arriving, Dr. Scarab awakens and shoots at the mummy, but when he loudly proclaims that he is not his ancient enemy, something seems to click in Encanto's memory. All 3 are brought up to speed about the elementals, about their goal for world domination, and how the jewel's power might be able to stop them from accomplishing their goals. As they head back, they reason that Zephyr may actually be acting against the other elementals for her own reasons. But unfortunately, she will do them no good. The other elementals have arrived and know of her attempted treason, swearing to kill Old Dan if they don't hand over the jewel. Things are heating up, my children. The living mummy has united with those he originally thought enemies to face the true threat. But will there be more tragedy before the end?